So just some simple rules of the game here as far as using SQL statements in an editor window. You always want to highlight the command you're working with, and then go over here to the little, it's a little triangle on top of a piece of paper, or a scroll piece of paper. That's actually execute. That's the execute button. Just press the execute button and it will execute it, and the results will be down here. So if we expand this down here, here are the tables in the Clay database. There's nothing there. It's basically, it ran the command for us and it shows us nothing. Well, let's make something in there. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is create a table. So create table clay dot testing. All right. So what that does, notice I've got clay.testing, so we're saying the syntax here is database.table. All right, so the table that I'm creating is going to be called testing, and it's going to be inside the clay database. I only have permissions to create stuff inside my database, and you'll only be able to create stuff inside your database. You couldn't create things in my database, and I can't create things in your database, okay? Whenever you create a table, you start with an open paren or an open parentheses. All right, and then you can hit enter to go to the next line to make it kind of clean. The first thing I'm going to do is create a little ID field in my table, and I'm going to make it an integer. I don't want it to be null because I'm going to use this ID as the unique identifier for the elements in this table. Okay, so ID integer not null, and I also want it to auto increment, which basically means every time somebody inserts things into this table, I want it to give a unique identifier, and I want it to automatically increment. So that's what those commands do right there. I don't want it to be null because I want to have a value in each row. I don't want it ever to not have a value, and that's what null is. Null is not having a value at all. If there was a 0 in there, actually 0 is a value. So just so you know. I'm also going to make the primary key be that ID field I just made. Okay, so ID matches ID right there. The next thing I'm going to do is create a field called name, and name is going to be a varchar or varchar, depending on how you like to pronounce that. But basically that means variable character, okay? Which means it contains numbers, letters, symbols, spaces. It's a variable character. It can be basically anything. And the last field I'll create is an age field, just for my little tiny testing table that I'm making here. And it's going to be an integer, or int for short. And I'll put my semicolon at the end there. And I'm going to highlight this. Let's look at it real quickly before we stop. Create table in the database clay called testing. There's my open paren and there's my closed paren at the end. The first field is the ID field. It's an integer. It's not null. It's auto incremented, and it's also the primary key. Second field is name. It's a varchar or varchar 30. All right. It's which means it's 30 characters wide. All right. Last field is age, and it's an integer. Okay. Looks good. I'm going to go ahead and click on execute. All right. It ran the statement. If there were any errors, it would have given me those. Okay. So it didn't give me any errors. That's good. All right. Let's see what we've got in our database now. This is, remember how we ran show tables above? Well, let's run show tables again, and let's see what happens. Okay. All right. Now you'll notice instead of it returning nothing, tables in clay is testing. So there, our testing table does exist. All right. To see what's in that, to see what's in that table, you can do a select statement. So you're going to select star from clay.testing. All right, so let's see what's in our table called testing in our database clay. There's nothing in there, but there's our ID, and ID has an asterisk to let you know it's the primary key. And then we've got name and age. Those are our other fields in there. Nothing in there so far, but that's what it can hold, okay? Let's do a simple little insert statement to insert some data in there. So to put stuff in there, just type insert into clay.testing. That's our database.table, all right? And what you do first is you tell it what fields you want to reference in there. So the fields are going to be name. Now what it's trying to do right here is it's trying to autocomplete. It's trying to think about what I want it to do, but I don't want it to do that. I'm just going to type in name, comma, age, and then I'm going to insert the values. I have to put a parenthesis around these as well. I'm going to say Clay Davis. And my age. Sometimes you have to click off that and then click back on it because it's annoying. It wants to help you out. This tool to help you edit SQL, it tries to help you out, but it can be annoying sometimes. So just click off of it and click back on. My age is 35, and I'm going to close that out. Okay, so that's our SQL statement to insert stuff in there. All right, we're going to highlight it and then execute it. So we didn't get any errors. Let's run a select statement again and see what happened. Select star from clay.testing. Let's see what happens. All right, we've got one row in there, and you'll notice when I did my insert statement here, I had two fields listed, name and age, and I inserted Clay Davis and 35. So that's what we've got here. But how did I get this one? I got this one because the ID field is an integer, it's not null, and it auto increments. So that means if I put no value there, it's going to automatically assign a unique value that's auto incremented with an internal little database that it's got. It'll insert that over and over again with an auto increment of 1 each time a row is inserted into that table. Well, just to see that action happen one more time, let's do it again. Let's do another insert statement. Insert into clay.testing. All right, we're going to insert those fields again, name, comma, age. All right, we're going to insert the values of Bob Davis, comma, and he is 63. Just got to click off of it and then click back in it. It tries to be helpful, but it's actually annoying. I want to point out a few things here. In our insert statements, you'll notice that I'm putting quotes around things. What that does is that makes things literal, which means that anything you put in quotes is going to be done exactly as you do it. So notice example, when I did Clay Davis, it has a space between Clay and Davis, and it capitalized the C and the D, so it did it literally as I said it to. Now, when you're inserting integers basically they don't have to have the quotes around them, but as a good rule of thumb, I'm going to leave them in there just so that it puts it in there just like I like it. Bob Davis is my dog. He's 63 years old, which is basically 7 times 9. He's 9 human years old, or he's 9 years old, but that's times 7 dog years, so he's actually around 63 years old. So there's our next record we're going to insert. All right, we'll click the execute button. All right, no errors so far, but let's see if what's going on in that table. So select star from clay.testing. Let's see what we got now. All right, we have two records in our data, or two rows in our table. We've got ID 1, which is me and my age, and then ID 2, which is Bob, my dog, and his age. So play around with it a little bit more. See what fun you can have inserting things into your table and see how it increments that automatically. All right. After you've done that a few times, then email me that you've done it, and I'll go in and I'll check the class server and see how you did. When you're done, you can either save this SQL statement if you want to. You can save it to your documents folder. You can call it mysql lab if you want to. Save it. And then just close out Toad. Exit. Alright, and then exit out of the whole program. And then log off the server. And you're done. Well, email me first that you did it. Then you're done.